Welcome to the Jay Kim Show. This is your host, Jay Kim. I am an investor, author, and fitness entrepreneur, and for the first time in Asia, I sit down with the world's most brilliant minds in business, investing, and entrepreneurship. You'll learn all the secrets, strategies, and formulas to becoming a successful entrepreneur directly from the masters. If this is your first time listening, thank you for stopping by. This podcast is produced every week with the goal of providing actionable insight to you, the listener, with every single episode. And now, on to the show. In this episode, we speak with Catherine van der Meulen. Catherine is the Retail Relations and Academy Manager at Inside Retail. Inside Retail is Australia's leading authority on retail industry news and trends and has been a trusted source of retail industry news for more than 45 years. Catherine's father founded the famous Australian retailer, Supré, so she has a very solid background in fashion and retail, having grown up in that family business. After the company was sold due to financial difficulties, Catherine decided to try her hand at entrepreneurship and launched Think Business Services, which is her business coaching and advisory business. Catherine's one of the organizers of the Retail Cutting Edge Forum, which will be on the very first day of the StartmeupHK 2017 festival, and she shares with us the latest trends that she is seeing in the retail space today. Catherine, thank you so much for being on the show. I'm very excited. We have a huge week coming up with the Start Me Up Hong Kong 2017 festival. Can you please, for the audience out here listening, introduce yourself and maybe tell us a little bit about what you do?
Yeah, sure. I'm Catherine van der Meulen, and I work as the Retail Relations and Inside Retail Academy Manager at a group in Australia called StartmeupHK. We also have an office in Hong Kong and Singapore and all across Asia. And at the moment, we are working on the Retail Cutting Edge event as part of the Start Me Up Festival, which is on next week in Hong Kong.
Yeah, I know you do a couple of things. So in addition to the Inside Retail Academy, you mentioned Octo Media. So is that part of the same thing?
Yeah, so Octo Media is the group that owns Inside Retail. Inside Retail is a publication that's been around for about 40 years, so it's got a long-standing history and amazing trust with retailers for publishing great content. And Octo Media is the group that owns Inside Retail, as well as a number of other publications across FMCG, across Asia, New Zealand, third sector. So there's multiple different publications that we publish across.
I see. Okay, so it's a magazine publisher type online news source.
All of that,
I guess?
yes.
Okay.
Everything that you need to know about retail globally, you will find it in Inside Retail.
So is it almost like a industry trade journal equivalent?
Yeah.
Okay,
exactly.
Got it. Okay. And before working there, maybe you can tell us a little bit about your background, how you got into retail?
Yeah, so I've been in retail all of my life. My father founded a fashion company, which is an Australian company called Supré, and he founded that back in the 80s. And I worked across brand, and we really were building an amazing and fun company across retail. We had 160 retail stores across Australia and New Zealand. And the business got sold 3 years ago, and I was out into the wider world and started to connect with businesses that I wanted to work with, and came across Inside Retail actually by chance. I was on a flight up to Queensland to go and host an event and ended up getting a taxi with the then CEO. And he said, I've got some great opportunities for you. And they all just fell into place. So we started working on the World Retail Congress in Rome and also building a business academy, which we still work on today. So, yeah.
Wow, that's quite serendipitous. So you have a background, family background in retail and fashion, and you've sort of done it your whole life. And then, was it something that was sort of impressed upon you, like, okay, you're part of the family, so you have to do this, or did you genuinely have a interest in it?
It was never pressed upon us, that's for sure. So when I was 18 and I left school, I just naturally went straight into the family business. I'd been there all of my life. I'd grown up in and around our factory. Our school holidays were always spent at our factory in Marrickville in Sydney. And so it was just a natural progression for me to go into there. And I had a great admiration for what my father did, and I just naturally wanted to be a part of that. When I look back, should I have spent so many years immersed in a fast fashion business? Maybe not. I really wish back then I probably would have spent more time educating myself in the lead up to that. So I've now gone back to university and studying business and psychology and stemming towards like human rights and sustainable business models and supporting businesses to be more conscious and ethical in their efforts. So, my only regret is that I didn't study and educate myself more back then rather than going straight into the family business.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, Catherine, there's definitely something to be said about education, but as well, I think that you probably got a whole different side of education that you can't even attain going to school because you were deep within the inner workings of an actual business, and there's a lot of things that you learn on the ground there that you can't even pay to learn in any amount of education. So
yeah. I think it's just the foundations that you can get from education, and yes, having that applied in an environment like that where you're working it every day. But the things that I've learned through my education have just opened my eyes in the last 4 or 5 years that I've been studying, have just opened my eyes to just different amazing opportunities that I probably would never have even thought about if I continued to stay in the family business. So it's opened my eyes and it's taught me a lot, and it's really shaped, I think, who I am and which direction in life I want to take.
Awesome. That's a great background. And okay, so you've been working at Inside Retail for, you said 5 years, was it?
No, in the last 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
Okay. And so can you tell us specifically sort of day to day what your job entails?
Yeah, so my main focus is on retail relationships, and that is really building relationships with all of our retailers to engage them in a number of our projects across the publications, not only from an editorial perspective, but also our events and our different programs that we run through Inside Retail and also across Octomedia as well. And I also run Inside Retail Academy, which is our education platform, and those one day forums in Australia at the moment and in Hong Kong as well. We just ran one in Hong Kong in November, and the event that we're working on for next week is actually just an extension of that particular Inside Retail Academy program. And we've also been working on, we've got a 3-day event coming up called Inside Retail Live, which is a festival of ideas and experiences within retail. So it's a massive event for 3,000 people coming up in March in Sydney. So yeah, we've also been working on the content and connecting with retailers from all over the world, and also interesting psychologists and customer behavior specialists and relationship experts and tantra experts and all sorts of random things where retailers can learn not only from within the industry, but also learning from other verticals. We don't just need to be applying what's actually working in the retail industry to other retail organizations. We can look to aviation, we can look to food, we can look to, as crazy a thing as tantra or relationships, and what do relationship experts have to do with brands and retail. There's an amazing relationship that goes on between brand and customer that, is much like a marriage. So we've really started to look outside, beyond just retail, of, the types of companies and the types of people that we'll have speaking at our events in the future.
That's very true. It's there's a huge psychology behind consumer behavior, and a lot of people don't think about when they think about retail, on the onset. So, so you mentioned the Inside Retail Academy. So, what exactly is that? And let's say I'm a young, enthusiast and want to get into the business. What sort of things do you have to offer there at the Academy?
Yeah, so we have, at the moment, it's 1-day events, and so we run those in Sydney and Melbourne, and obviously Hong Kong, and it's a mix of content. So we have case studies of brands, and those are delivered in workshop-style formats or roundtables or interviews or keynote presentations, and really it's about supporting retailers and, not only established retailers, but emerging retailers as well, to be able to continue their education and learning from other people. To give you an example, we recently had at one of our events a man called Douglas Nicol, who spoke from a company called On Message, was talking about the emergence of things like WhatsApp as communication tools within organizations, and bots and robots and all sorts of things. And you'd kind of go, what's WhatsApp got to do with retail? And then I was on the phone with Invest Hong Kong and KPMG last night in preparation for the event next week, and they were talking about how we will need to use WhatsApp as our communication tool for our event next year. So we kind of missed the boat on it this year, but making sure that WhatsApp is a part of our marketing strategy. So, it's about finding emerging trends and what, technology being the enabler for retail. And so it's a combination of those things.
Okay, so it's just kind of keeping up with trends and also doing some sort of 101 type introductory stuff. If you're just new to the industry in general, if you want to just learn, then you can attend the academy, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Right. Okay. Interesting what you say about WhatsApp, actually, because globally, every market is nuanced, and in Asia, a lot of people use WhatsApp. I know all of them. I use it, and that's pretty much the only. Well, I mean, WeChat is very China centric, but WhatsApp is very. I use that, and all of my network, all my friends just use WhatsApp, and then I go to the States and people are like, we don't really use WhatsApp. Oh, I have to download it. So, but the good thing about WhatsApp is that it is encrypted in theory. So it is one of the more secure ones. So that's nice. Okay, so it sounds pretty. It sounds like you're into a lot there at Inside Retail Academy. What are some of the other things that you're doing? Because I know that you were or are still working at something called Think Business Services.
Yeah, so that's my own business that I have, a consulting business. And the main focus for me is about supporting businesses to be more conscious in their efforts. I think, we can't afford to start another fashion label or another retail organization. I think the world is pretty much at its capacity. So we really need to be working with, what we have and really converting our businesses to be more sustainable. In the end, my family lost the business. We had to sell the business because it went into financial disarray. And so I've learned a lot from that. And I really want to be able to teach other organizations how to create sustainable business models to be able to stay in business. And those things come from building the foundations of the business and creating a sustainable organization, building the foundations, making sure that your ethics, your values, your mission, and your purpose are in place. Because I feel like a business without purpose really is no business at all, because it doesn't engage the culture. And it's hard to grow a business if it has no meaning. And I think instead of starting another business, we really need to refine the businesses that we have and grow those businesses from within, rather than just always jumping ship and finding what the next organization that we can be involved in. And that's a very entrepreneurial spirit, and I love that. But it's also about making other businesses work rather than just jumping to the next thing. And I'm a
Right.
That is my personality as well. I grew up with my father, who's an incredible entrepreneur, and we were always we were always looking for the next thing. And I think that's kind of my life motto. And I'm always looking for what's next, not just about career and life, but more about life, really. How can I educate myself more? How can I go, what kind of adventures can we go on overseas? Taking the kids on adventures, but adventures with purpose. So I don't just want to travel to New York to go check out the fashion and check out the retail. I want to go to New York and work with homeless people, or go on a mission and work with the United Nations, and doing things that actually have more purpose than just another business. So I really kind of set my sights on those kinds of things, and then engaging businesses along the way who are already working in that kind of way. I recently with Inside Retail started working with a company called Riho Travel, and they give 10% of their profits to a microfinancing agency in Malawi in Africa. And so for me, it's not, my trip to Hong Kong was booked through Riho Travel. So it's not only about that, I'm traveling to Hong Kong next week, but also then we were able to contribute to this microfinancing. And I really believe that microfinancing as a model can really change the lives of millions of people all over the world. And so, that you can contribute in small ways. It doesn't have to be center your whole business around microfinancing, but knowing that just my trip for next week contributed to, this microfinancing agency in Hong Kong, it makes me feel a hell of a lot better than just filling the pockets of the airlines.
No, absolutely. I think you're right. I think you're completely right. You hit the nail on the head. I mean, you don't have to 180 and just be all in, but it's the little steps, it's the building blocks that you take to give back that I think matter. One of my friends, he runs a pre-accelerator sort of program in the Philippines because obviously, web developers and coders the cost is much lower there in the Philippines to hire that sort of, and they're very talented. And so one of the things that he does is he set up a a social employment type program where Hong Kong companies can actually hire like a high school student to work on their SEO and sort of web marketing, social media marketing, and they'll have a dedicated person that will work on it for a fraction of the cost that they'll pay to a large organization. They'll be teaching underprivileged high school student how to work on it, and oftentimes the results are even better than what you'll get at a large organization for 10 times the cost, right? And it's just one of those things where it's like, it's exactly what you said, you feel good about spending that money because not only are you getting results, it's also going to a good cause. So I think that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So who are some of the companies that you would, what's a situation where I would hire you as a consultant for, let's say, your Think Business Services?
Again, it could really be any business. I'm not so focused on, I was very focused when I first came out of our fashion business. I was very focused on fashion organizations, but I'm not so focused in that area. My great passions are around, travel and humanitarianism and philanthropy and things that are for the greater good, really. Again, I'm not very interested these days just to work for another fashion company because I don't see the purpose in it and for excessive consumerism. So it's really about the individual organization and most importantly, who's behind the organization and what their purpose is and what their meaning is. That, I enjoy working with those kinds of companies because at the end of the day, it's that entrepreneurial spirit that is driving these organizations. And if I'm not interested in that person's spirit, then it's hard for me to engage in the business. So it's really, it really can be anything. It's really more about the connection between myself and the person that we're working together, because that again can create that relationship and building on that, relationship.
Right. I guess one would be surprised, to see large organizations that perhaps don't have a clearly defined purpose oftentimes, right? And so I guess that's where you come in. What are some sort of best practice type procedures that you would suggest to, let's say, a company that maybe not a huge company, but let's say a medium-sized company that maybe is struggling or just doesn't have their stuff together and maybe doesn't have a purpose? What are some of the things that you would implement right away?
I would first do, in a simple way, not like a massive process, but I would do an audit of the organization. I would understand the culture of the people. I would understand, the supply chain and the impact, and that can be service orientated as well as product businesses understanding the supply chain and also understanding the impact, but most importantly, understanding and connecting with the people in the organization and find out what's going on. I know that back in my days at Supré, if we had really just dug a little bit deeper and connected further with our team members in more of a meaningful way towards the end, I feel like we probably could have saved the business because we could have understood the business a lot more than just looking at what products we were selling, at what price we were selling, where the fabric was coming from. And if we can really engage the people internally, I think you can build an amazing culture. I would start in that way, and identifying really what the vision is for the business. What do we really want to be creating in this business? What's the outcome? What's its purpose? And I think really defining that purpose, defining the culture, engaging with people, educating and empowering people would be the places that I would start. You may have a tribe of 1,000 people, or you may have 10 people in your organization. They are probably your biggest asset over rent and things like that, but they will probably be your biggest asset and biggest investment. So why not start with them to understand what's really going on in your business?
Right. Okay. That's very interesting. Catherine, I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about the big event inside retail. It's Retail's Cutting Edge, which is the very first day, which is January 16th. And so can you please tell us, maybe some of the keynote speakers and the highlights that we can look forward to when we attend the event?
Yeah, we are super excited about this. We partnered with Invest Hong Kong at our November Inside Retail Academy, and then they approached us and said, would you like to run a one-day forum as part of the Start Me Up Festival in Hong Kong, which is obviously on next week from the 16th to the 20th. And we are running the first day, which is a forum bringing together retailers, startups, investors, entrepreneurs, tech companies, to really cultivate the ecosystem of startups in Hong Kong. Hong Kong really wants to be known as the gateway to the world for startups, and the Asian version of Silicon Valley, basically. And also to enrich the retail ecosystem of Hong Kong as well. A lot has changed over the last 5 or 10 years in the retail ecosystem, where Hong Kong used to be known as that amazing place to go shopping, and they feel like it's lost its edge. And so that what they're trying to do is really build on that, which is why we've been engaged by Invest Hong Kong to work and build on this day for the Start Me Up Festival. So we've got some really interesting speakers, and again, across all of those different areas. So we've got retailers speaking, we've got investors speaking, we've got entrepreneurs speaking, and all businesses that are influencing, engaged in, or in some way, shape or form, part of the retail industry. We've got a number of sponsors like Tofu Gear, Cooper, and Brand Aroma and Real Vision on board, and they're really bringing to life and empowering the day with different elements. We've got a startup village set up downstairs, so it's at PMQ, and it's over 2 levels, and we've got all the latest technology. I think there's going to be about 40 different little stands with all the latest technology being showcased. Then upstairs we'll have the main theatre, and then also the things that I spoke about, like Brand Aroma and Real Vision, and Cooper and Tofu Gear, who will be showcasing some of their projects and some of their technology and what they do as well. So we're really excited to bring it all together. It's been probably the fastest turnaround event that I've ever worked on. From idea to delivery has been 6 weeks, and obviously we've had Christmas and New Year in there as well. So it's been a really fun and exciting and fast-paced project to work on.
Yeah, it sounds like. I mean, I personally sat in on a couple of those meetings, the calls with Invest HK, and yeah, I mean, everyone's sort of operating at optimal level right now, trying to get everything done. But I'm very confident that it's going to be a fantastic event. So you mentioned some technology. We talked about WhatsApp, obviously, and what are some of the other things that are going to be showcased specifically at the when you talk about retail, you don't necessarily think about technology. So what are some examples of stuff that might be showcased?
Well, technology is obviously everywhere. So it's whether it's on the front end of retail, like physical things in store to, create a better customer experience, or really the back end on, creating better systems, processes and procedures for supply chains, delivery, optimizing websites. So there's so many different ways. And we've got now about 11 different startups who are each pitching their ideas. So we've got two pitch fests in the afternoon, which will be judged by a series of 4 judges. And they are really pitching their latest, not only about the technology, but it's an idea that is the enabler to creating better solutions for retail, so that the whole customer experience has a much stronger flow and it becomes a lot more customer centric.
Right.
So yeah, they're really the technology that lies behind retail are quite varied. They're obviously consumer facing, and then there's also the back end to optimize businesses and create, the end of the day, what people are trying to create is better customer experiences, which create more profitability and overall grow, an organization.
Yeah, technology is everywhere, and you got to jump on the train. You can't resist it, but oftentimes it does make our lives easier, and it's for the better. Catherine, we have to look to wrap up soon. I have a couple more questions for you. The first is, and it's one of the things that you're going to talk about, or your panel or your event will address, is sort of what are the trends do you see in the retail space in the coming 2 to 5 years?
Yeah, again, I think we've got a big focus on technology, and so I really feel there'll be a strong emergence of that in physical retail to create better customer experiences, and also the things like 3D printing. And the way stores are using different visual aids and different concepts within a store to create a better navigation. So when a customer first sees the window of a store and then they walk through the store and they're getting a whole brand experience. And I think overall, brands are really looking for experiences. Customers are looking for experiences. How that is then delivered in a retail environment, can be the make or break of retailers. And people want to be able to walk away and go, oh my God, wow, that was amazing. Whatever experience it is, But I think people are now looking for more memorable experiences. They don't necessarily just want to buy something online. Wow, I got another t-shirt. Or I don't just want to walk into a store, pick a t-shirt off the rack, take it to the counter. They want to immerse themselves into something greater and something that's got more fun to it. Like one of the speakers is Jeremy Meltzer, who's coming over from Australia, and he's got a company called I equals Change. And so when customers are shopping online, they can basically go on and they can choose one of 3 charities that $2 from every one of those sales will go to a particular cause, like educating children in Africa. And there's specific causes. So we've selected 3 causes for every ticket that's purchased for the event next week. That money is being chosen. It's taken, it's our money. It is obviously the customer's money, but we are donating $2 from every one of our sales. So it's just about, I guess, doing more with what we have again, and it not being so static, the relationship and the connection between brands and retailers. With something like I equals Change and having that concept on certain websites, it's getting like 20% more conversion of sales at the end at the shopping cart, because people are like, oh, they're actually doing something for the greater good. We could donate. I could donate, $2 to, this particular project in Africa, or this particular project in Asia. So it's giving brands more meaning again. And I think those things, the experiences, technology being the enabler of those experiences, doing more with what we have.
Right. Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, I think that the trends that we'll see with technology and just sort of the social consciousness side of things are quite exciting, and they're all very meaningful as well. Well, Catherine, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. The final question is, where can people find you, follow you, maybe learn a little bit more about what you're doing at Inside Retail?
Yeah, my space is LinkedIn. I spend my life on LinkedIn. So it's just Catherine van der Meulen. And so, I list all my projects that I'm working on in there, and also engaging in different conversations with, white papers that we release, and different projects and media that we'll have following the event for next week. So it's a bit of a hub for me of that space that I use.
All right, great. So you can connect with Catherine on LinkedIn and head on over to edge.insideretail.hk, which is where you can pick up your tickets for the Inside Retail event, which is on Monday, January 16th, part of the Start Me Up Hong Kong 2017 festival at the PMQ. It is going to be great. I'm very much looking forward to it. And Catherine, thanks again. Thank you so much for your time. We had a great time talking this morning.
Thanks so much. I'll see you next week.
All right, take care. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. All the show notes and links can be found over at jkimshow.com. Come back often and make sure you subscribe, rate, and review. Don't forget to join us next week for another exciting episode of The J. Kim Show. I'd love to hear your comments. You can find me on Twitter at jkimmer, JAYKIMMER. See you guys next week. This podcast is brought to you by Hack Your Fitness, the high achiever's guide to getting ripped in under 3 hours a week. If you're anything like me, you're probably working a full-time job or jobs and trying to find time to balance family life, social life, and last but not least, fitness. Look, I get it. I'm a full-time investor and entrepreneur myself, and father of 2. So how am I able to stay fit year-round without spending hours and hours in the gym killing myself on the cardio machine? After struggling for the last 15 years trying every workout and diet under the sun, I finally designed a system that allows me to achieve and maintain single-digit body fat for life in under 3 hours a week. Cardio not required. Head on over to hackyour.fitness and download my free 13-page guide that teaches you the simple science behind efficient fitness and smart nutrition and gives you everything you need to know to finally take control of your life. That's hackyour.fitness.